Hello YouTubers, and today I am going to be reviewing this, which is the Jakks Pacific Five Nights at Freddy's Endo series, and this time it's Freddy and Withered Freddy. Now this has only just come out here in the UK at the time of recording this. I know it's been out in the US for a few weeks, about a month or so now, but we just got it in the UK, so I can only review it now. So, yeah, I'm going to start with the Endo skeleton itself, and that, because this is the first time we've had, like, a full 5-inch scale figure of an actual Endo. And, you know, this thing is vital and that to the rest of it, because obviously, really, this is one figure with a load of accessories, essentially, because these two are just shells that clip on to this, which I'll go into more, detail about in that later, but yeah, essentially all these parts and that just clip on to the Endo itself, which yeah, you can see there also has a opening and closing mouth. But yeah, if I just put the box this way around, and that on the back you can see the others in the Endo range that are coming, which is basically the main 4 animatronics and that from the first game, presumably, and that we know that Bonnie's coming with his withered version, and presumably Foxy and Chica will also be. I'm assuming they'll probably do Golden Freddy and that, and here's also the thing, I'm conflicted on whether to buy the regular figures and that, because as I said, this set, or this range, the Endo range, is aimed more towards, the adult end of collectors, whereas the regular figures are aimed more at the toys. That's why they have the push button movements to, make them jump scare and open their mouths and everything, whereas these are more they're not really traditional figures in terms of, bits are clipping on, but there's, there isn't the gimmick in the back of pushing them to lunge forward or anything like that. But I guess the Endo thing is a gimmick in that itself. But the Endo itself and that does look pretty good. And that he does look quite bright, actually, to be honest. He's very much, more of a bright silver than being, sort of very dark, sort of, I don't know, almost sort of metallic black almost looking in the first game and that. But yeah, he is very, very bright silver here. And obviously, we've got a fair bit of articulation and that here and that in the joints and everything. Although they will be hindered and that by the animatronic when you put the parts on. So again, go more into that later. But yeah, in terms of everything else, it's pretty good. And he does have a slight sort of wash on to him and that to make him look slightly dirtied. But yeah, other than that, not a lot to really see. But it is nice that, you can have an Endo and that on its own. So yay, happy days there. Okay, so here we have regular Freddy, or Five Nights at Freddy's One Freddy in the Endo skeleton. And yeah, this one, to be honest, I don't know, I've just got some disappointments about it, to be quite frank. And one of the issues I had initially when the prototype images show is this thing is just completely smooth. There's no texturing type of detail on there. I mean, when you look at Freddy himself and that there, you can see there's a bit of texturing detail on that on there on the actual model. And this one, it just doesn't have any of that, unfortunately. It is just basic plastic, which is a shame because, for example, the Funko one, that one, despite its inaccuracies, I think it did a really good job with the kind of wash that they put over it, and also the texturing on the plastic, just to, give it a bit more. I think if this one, if it wasn't going to go for the moulding and that for that, then, give it a little bit of a wash and that over top of it, because he looks far too bright, to be honest. He looks way too bright. And also the ears as well, particularly on his ears, they are just like a little line there. That they're not so much inner, it's just like a little line sculpted into there. I mean, turning to the positives and that, in terms of the look and the proportions and that, this is more accurate. In terms of a sculpt, in terms of its proportions and accuracies, correct. Because it doesn't have the extra set of teeth, and that on the top, it's only got teeth along the bottom there. And also, obviously, the articulation. Well, the articulation is a bit mixed. I do like the fact that you can open and close his mouth. The head, has good articulation. This is a prime example of a problem I have with this. In that bits of this, the clip-on sections here, they will not stay on, unfortunately. A lot of them do pop off incredibly easily. And we've just had a prime example of that. But also, some of the articulation is pretty hindered. I mean, the arms, my ones, I don't know why, they just won't bend. They won't stay bent. You try and bend them here, and they just snap back into place instantly like that. So it does affect a bit of posing, to be honest. His arms, you can basically put them out to the side and that at this ball joint here, but they're always stuck far out like that to the side. You can't have him pose, with his arm up to, his face or anything, because all the way over here. Saying that, though, there's little reason to do that with this figure, since he doesn't come with a microphone, which, we've just gotten so used to it with all the Funkos over the years, always come with a microphone, that, he does not come with a microphone, and even if he did, his hands are not sculpted to hold a microphone either. You can see, just going down to the feet there, they're hollow and that on the other side, although there are a couple of peg joints on there, which is good. In terms of the rest of the articulation, there is a ball jointed hip joint there, but again, I don't know what it is on my one, but there is a bit of a knee joint there, but when you're bending these joints, it almost feels like basically all these sections are going to pop off, to be honest. They don't, at least on my one. I can only comment on mine. Look at that, it's popped off again in this review. I'm just showing my point. Some of the hip one really, or should I say crotch piece here, it really wants to just constantly pop off, and that no matter how many times I put it back on. And that, so yeah, I'd say with the regular Freddy, he is looking a bit weaker, and that out of the two, he kind of feels very, very fragile. To be honest, like, you kind of just have to put him on a shelf, and you can either pose him with his arms up like that, or down like this. That's basically the two posing options you've got, or whether you want the mouth to be open or closed. That's basically it. There's not a lot in terms of posability in that. So despite having articulation joints on there, not very much utilised with them, to be quite frank, since you can't use them very much, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because the detail on that he does... God's sake. The detail on that he does have, and that on the head, is pretty good. And again, the jaw movement with the endo and that's poking out there, and the eyes and everything. But, yeah, this endo gimmick, to be honest, I think is more of a hindrance than a plus. Okay, so now we're on to Withered Freddy, and I will say, this one, it looks better. And that, but before I go into that, I should probably also talk about the process of removing or putting on each of the little plastic pieces, which is very fiddly. It's a very fiddly process, and it's taken me about 10 minutes to swap between the two. It's not too bad taking them off, but putting them on can be pretty fiddly, to be honest. Now, there are on there, this, I think, where is it? On his arm. Oh, there's one. There are little notches and that on the arm. If I zoom out and show you. So you can see there where the join in that is. But you can see there's a little lip just there, a little notch, little lip for you to get your fingernail in a little bit to pop them off, which does help immensely. The crotch piece on this one is also incredibly loose. It's popped off several times. I left it till last when putting it on, but on this one, yeah. Now, because Withered Freddy has withered damage, it does actually free up the articulation joints considerably more than regular Freddy. I think if they maybe left the tiniest bit more gap on regular Freddy, it would give him a bit more articulation because, you know, look how much more articulation it does give him as a result. So you can make him a bit more dramatic and that as a result. But also the dirty wash that they've given him as well, and that, to be honest, it should be a lot more than this, to be quite frank. But yeah, that little bit of dirty wash that they've put on this one, it really does help. And that, although I will say, I haven't really done it much on the legs at all, to be quite frank, and it should be a lot more than this. Like, to be honest, the slight sort of I don't know, withering or dirty wash that they've given this should be on the regular Freddy, and this one should have it basically 10 times more than that. And to be honest, when you look at him on the box and that, which is one of the prototypes, you can see he's got way more on the prototype image there. And the final one, I mean, it is on there, but he barely has any in that in comparison. But still, it is really nice, the fact that, you know, this is actually cut into the plastic there, so there's actually gaps all around him in various bits, which obviously, you know, is better than, and since, you know, it's an Endo, this is actually, to be honest, the Endos work best as the Withers, because then you can actually see the endoskeleton like poking out in various places. And obviously, you know, he still has the opening and closing jaw mechanism. So yeah, it is really nice, you know, to finally get this Freddy. And generally, this is, you know, the highlight and that for most people, I'm assuming. Because, yeah, you finally get a Withered Freddy in a 5-inch scale. And this one, you know, much better. And that, though I will say, he could do with some more weathering. I know a lot of customizers and that are probably going to give him a lot more weathering and that. I think, though, I'm pretty positive this is where the price comes in, and that is with the paint, basically. Because a lot of people are wondering, how have they managed to make these as cheap as they have? Well, since all of Freddy's parts are all moulded in this sort of tan brown colour, and the only things that are painted is his chest piece here, his bow tie and buttons, and also his snout there with the top hat and the teeth. So yeah, not a huge amount of it painted on that. Most of it is just moulded in that colour and then given a very, very light wash over the top. And this all reduces the cost. And that is how they're able to make it considerably cheaper, because the less paint you use, well, that's more you can knock off basically the price. And you know what? In these instances, that's not a bad thing, but I really think it should have had a bit more of a wash and that to him. I mean, he does look really good, and that, don't get me wrong, this one does actually look really good, but yeah, again, you know, no microphone accessory in that, and I don't know, the fact that the fingers as well, this is another shortcut, rather than having separate fingers, basically it's all just one big thing with just the individual digits in there. I think if he'd had, you know, the 3 individual digits sort of spread out a bit like that, you could really do the attacking thing, but since they're all together, and that, yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, lacks it a little bit to me. And again, when I say fragile before, I don't mean in terms of, like, I don't think things are going to break. I just mean in terms of fragile in the case of sections basically dropping off and that. Most of them seem alright and that, but it's mainly stuff like that crotch piece, and also sometimes the arm pieces tend to sort of poke out a little bit when you're doing this, so yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of mixed feelings that about this, but I guess that's, you know, what you get with it. But Withered Freddy is definitely, you know, the best out of the three. So, overall, what do I think of this set? Well, in the UK, it is priced at $24.99. And, you know what? I'll give it this. The price on it is fairly decent, actually. It's a decent price for this. But, there are a few things about it, you know, that I don't like. I don't like how finicky and fiddly it is, and that to basically, you know, swap or put on basically the actual, you know, costumes, shall we call them, onto the Endo skeleton. Particularly getting, you know, them off and that, getting your nail in there and everything. Like, basically, if you don't have nails, you are going to have a bloody almost impossible time trying to get them off. Because some of them, like the croc section, will literally fall off, but there are other bits that will not come off, no heaven nor hell. So, yeah, it's kind of a bit hit and miss on that with that. In terms of everything else in that, you know, I said at the start of this review and that, from what I gather from what is being said about this set, is that this is aimed, well, I don't know about adult, but at an older audience. I mean, this is 8+, where I think the others, I think the regular figures might be 5+. I could be wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, you know, this is definitely aimed at an older audience and that than just the regular basic figures. And, I don't know, I'm in a bit two minds about it. The regular Freddy does disappoint me in many ways. The Withered Freddy, there is some disappointments in that there, but it is still quite a nice one. I don't know, and also I don't know either whether to continue collecting these and exclusively collect these, or just buy the regular figures or what, because again, I don't know what's going to be released in that, you know, longer term, and that obviously because the toy animatronics, I would like to have the toy animatronics, but to be honest, the buttons on their backs on all of them basically really are an eyesore and that. And I know they're on the back, not on the front, but even so, it's an eyesore. And that, I don't know, I don't like how gimmicky they are, to be honest. I much prefer just like, you know, basic, highly detailed action figures. In terms of accuracy, in terms of sculpting, at least in accuracy, much better than Funko. Instantly much better than Funko in terms of, you know, the sculpting detail on the proportion sizes and everything. There's that. But there are other things. I think we did lose a bit in the paint aspect and that again to, you know, knock this price down. And also, it would have been nice that, you know, if we had an option of just buying one of these Endos on its own. Maybe we will down the line. That would be a nice thing, because the problem is as well, if you want to have these on display, you're going to have to pick which one you want. You can't have both on display, or all three, to be honest, either. You'll have to pick which one out of the three do you want, and that's out of them. So, I don't know, it would be nice maybe if they sold the Endo and that on its own, and that at some point, just so that, you know, for people who do buy these sets, you know, to buy an Endo and that to put them on there. It is nice though that it does come with it and that, because I could see it going the other way around as well, where these are just available on their own and you have to basically, you know, track down one of these to get an Endo. So, but it is annoying that, you know, you can't have one of each figure now in front of you, because again, it's not 3 figures. This is 1 figure there, the baseline or the Endo of a figure, and then you've got 2 accessories and that for it. Admittedly, a lot of accessories, but yeah. But as I said, if this was more money, I think I'd be, you know, I'd be more annoyed about it. But considering it's £25, and also obviously this is the start of Jazzware's line and that of figures, it's not a bad start. It's not a bad start and that to the range and that. And, you know, if this does get a revisit and that in the future where they make some improvements, or if later they decide to actually do a proper, you know, collector's range and that, I will be all for it. But yeah, at the moment, I think unless the toy animatronics go on sale and that, I think I'll stick to the Endo range and that, at least for now. And it's probably the range I would recommend and that for most people and that who are, you know, more on the adults collecting and that. The toy animatronics, unless you're absolutely desperate for them, I'd personally wait to see if they go on sale, because a lot of the time FNAF figures do go on sale, or again, if, for example, Black Friday is around the corner, so is Christmas and that, Christmas offers and that, or January sales, there may be offers. So, you know, just saying, I would hold off otherwise on that, but this thing, yeah, I'd say it's worth £25. It's worth £25. It's not worth any more than that, though. I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it a bargain. I don't think I'd call it a bargain. I would call it a very fair price, a very pro-consumer price. And that for this is a decent price for the amount of that you get for this. So, yeah, that's it for this review. And I'll see you whenever I review something else. So, yeah, bye-bye.